One of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou, once said, "You are the sum total of everything you've ever seen, heard, eaten, smelled, been told. Forget it. It's all there. Everything influences each of us. And because of that, I try to make sure that my experiences are positive." My experiences at Goucher were difficult and positive. I did not just go through Goucher, Goucher went through me. And with the support of God, help, and prayers of the Goucher family, I was able to survive through a very difficult junior year. While my classmates were excited about pending engagements in graduate schools, and I was looking forward to attending law school, I was forced with a hellacious 6 months. As I was walking back from class on a beautiful day in October during my junior year at Goucher, I was greeted by a relative who told me that my grandmother had died. My grandmother, Nani, lived with my family all of my life. She was my nanny. I was heartbroken. My friends surrounded me, consoled me, and encouraged me. During the same year, believing foolishly that I could be a famous figure skater, I broke my coccyx, ice skating in Wisconsin, trying to do a flip like the skaters I had seen on television. The orthopedic specialist told me that obviously they could not put a cast on my gluteus maximus. The only alternative, if I wanted to function, including going to the bathroom without crying, was to take painkillers. Obviously, this was before all the discussions that we've had today about painkillers, oxycodone, and addiction. As I started on the medication, I realized I didn't know where I was most of the time. I had an internship working for Judge Joseph Howard of the Circuit Court for Baltimore City, so I'd have to drive from Towson to Baltimore City twice a week. Driving from Towson to Baltimore City while feeling not there soon became not an option. The only one solution was to go cold turkey. The only problem was the pain was so great that I was crying all the time. I could not function because the pain that I had when I refused to take the painkillers made me so high that I did not know where I was most of the time. My roommate, Rosie Julian, Teresa Ross Boston, and Miriam Hudgens would bring me tea and encouragement. They would constantly tell me that my coccyx would heal and everything would be okay. And one day I'd be able to go to the bathroom without crying. I was confident that my Goucher friends clearly knew the answers. On a Friday, 1 month later, I was suddenly taken out of a sociology class and told that my father had died suddenly of a massive heart attack at work. In shock, my Goucher friends drove me home. Faculty and friends from Goucher, along with other friends and family, were present for me during that time. There were no cell phones, no computers, but typewriters. Assignments were delivered to my home in Baltimore. I was advised extensions would be granted for midterms and not to worry. Friends from school would come to my house and assist me with typing term papers on the typewriter, an instrument I'm sure my younger friends up there have no knowledge about it. As an aside, recently I hired, as you heard, a young intern, and in her office was a typewriter. I asked her to type a label. When I returned an hour later, she was still staring at the typewriter. Her question to me was, "What is this thing?" When I tried to explain to her that it was a typewriter and I wanted labels, she said, "You want labels? I'll do it on the computer in a minute." 2 weeks after my father passed, I returned to campus. On a Friday before spring break, I was advised I had to go to my grandmother's house in Green Spring Valley because my great aunt and uncle had suddenly died in a house fire.
Wow.
Having lost my father 2 weeks before, My mother told me I had to plan a double funeral. Again, my friends and Goucher family sprang into action and provided support. 2 weeks later, I was returning to school after spring break and the funerals, and I was looking forward to going to my room at Simpson Hall when a drunk hit my car head on, and I had to be cut out of the car. I told my mother I had enough and I was out of here. She must have called my advisor, mentor, and friend, Dr. Marianne Givens, and my Goucher posse. All of a sudden, there was a schedule. Someone was with me at all times when I returned to school. During each of these horrendous events, my advisor and friends were there, and the faculty was supportive. At some point, there was a schedule to make sure that I got to class and that my papers were completed in a timely manner. In retrospect, I realized that I was in a depression, but at that time, that never occurred to me. I was walked to the pool to do laps, taken to the snack bar for milkshakes, encouraged to dance to the jukebox and the snack bar, but never left alone. The love and support from the Goucher community allowed me to stay on the honor roll and continue my path to finish school in 3.5 years. I thank all of you who helped me on this path. When you ask God for a gift, be thankful if He sends not diamonds, not pearls or riches, but the love of real, true friends. This quote from Helen Steiner Rice summarizes my life as an only child. I did not have siblings, but I was blessed with real, true friends. My friends who guided me through these experiences are present with me today. As the daughter of two parents who are educators, it is my opinion that teachers are the most important people in our lives. At this juncture, I would like all of the teachers to stand and for us to give them a round of applause. Thank you. The teachers train the surgeon who saves our lives, the pilot who flies the plane. That is why I must dedicate this prestigious honor to the teacher in my life, who is my friend, mentor, and strongest advocate at Goucher College, the late Dr. Marianne Givens. God blessed me when Dr. Marianne Givens was assigned as my advisor as a political science major. She was not only my teacher, mentor, and friend, but more than that to me, she was my strongest advocate. Do you know that a teacher can give you the same kind of confidence that your parents can give you and encourage you to go beyond any barriers? So when Dr. Givens would say to me, "I think you are brilliant," I believe that I was brilliant. My parents taught the importance of fighting for yourself and working harder than anyone else to achieve excellence. I entered Goucher with that fighting spirit, and Dr. Givens was my wingman, always encouraging me to excel to higher levels. Dr. Givens was the wind beneath my wings. She encouraged me to do an independent study for my senior project, and I did a study on Black socialization. I had graphs, interviewers, resources, statistics. Dr. Givens told me she had never read a paper like mine in her life. She made a call to a contact at the University of Pennsylvania and recommended that I pursue a master's degree and a PhD. There was only one problem. I told her I wanted to be Perry Mason, who won almost every case. On a side note, guys, I had in my script that Perry Mason won every case. My staff Googled it. See, when you have young people working for you, and they found out that Perry Mason lost 3 cases. So it was a big argument. Yes, I was still delusional, but still she had convinced me that of all of her years, she had never read a paper similar to mine. Why couldn't I become Perry Mason? For my young friends in the audience, Perry Mason was a television actor who had an incredible winning record in trial, even though he didn't win every case. She was so convincing that I actually believed my paper was the best paper she had ever read, until recently when I found the notebook with the paper that she had delivered to me several years ago. I suddenly realized Dr. Gibbons was a great actor and teacher. According to her, clearly, I was going to be a Supreme Court judge. I didn't want to tell her I didn't want to be a judge, just Perry Mason, and have an awesome winning career in trial courts. Now, it's important to remember that I was working on this project on the Political Association of Blacks after my horrendous junior year I told you about. There would be dinners at Dr. Gibbons' home, discussions with her husband, Stanley. I even think she told him to tell me I was brilliant. If you give a person positive support and encouragement, there will be no stopping that person in his or her belief of what that he or she could accomplish. Dr. Gibbons provided this support for me. In class with only women, I was encouraged to express my opinion. If someone disagrees, you could continue to advocate your position in a safe environment. At the dinners at her home, I was encouraged to express my opinions, and even with some of her politician friends who may have had different opinions about politics. In January of my senior year, I had completed my studies, and Dr. Gibbons advised me that I was going to be the first African-American student to graduate with honors in political science. I left Simpson Hall that January and I was ecstatic. I had a state job for a few months prior to starting law school. I was on top of the world. I had an expense account and a job that required me to drive around in small towns in Prince George's County firing people since the president had ended Model Cities Coordinator. And they thought I was the best person to do that job. This sometimes required running after individuals in little towns like Sea Pleasant because they knew my job description. One day, Dr. Gibbons called me and stated there was a problem. My heart stopped beating. Did someone not count my credits, I was thinking? I was not going to graduate. And most importantly, I was not going to be Perry Mason. She advised me there had been a department meeting, and the head of the department was attempting to proffer an additional requirement in order for me to graduate with honors in political science. Her response to me was not to worry, that she was going to argue my position and it was going to be okay. Crying, I asked Dr. Gibbons, should I tell my mother? After all, she had already told the whole world I was graduating with honors in political science. Her response was, no, I have this. A few days later, I received the call that she prevailed, and I was going to graduate with honors in political science. Gwendolyn Brooks, the first African American to receive the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 1950, eloquently described my connection to Dr. Gibbons when she wrote, "We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. The support and encouragement that I received at Goucher gave me confidence in law school, to advocate my position in a room with mostly males, to argue before the Court of Appeals, Court of Special Appeals, and Fourth Circuit as a young attorney and an assistant attorney general. The confidence led me to start a business when I was 6 months pregnant with our third child 35 years ago, and a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. The support and encouragement that I received from Goucher gave me the strength to believe that I would not fail. I would like to give thanks to God for the grace bestowed on me, the committee for this honor, To Yvonne, who went to high school and college with me, Teresa, Miriam, and my roommate Rosie, Maureen, and other classmates from my class who are present, the big sisters who supported me from the African American community, my husband Jesse, who has been a great support in all of my accomplishments, Nicholas, who is present, the one who was taking the pictures, and who had to go to work with me when he was a week old. Justin, my other son, who works in Florida, and whose words of encouragement have always been a source of strength for me. My many friends who are present, and the Goucher community. To quote an esteemed poet and fellow alumni of Goucher College, Ellen Bass, from the class of 1968, people don't need to be forced to grow. All we need is favorable circumstances, respect, love, honesty, and the space to explore. It is my prayer that Goucher College continues to be that place, a place where there is respect, love, honesty, and a space to explore. Thank you.